Hello grade 12s and welcome to this video with me Natasha Barton, in which we will be taking a look at question number 1.1 to 1.3 of the November 2021 Physical Science Paper 2 exam. This is the multiple choice section. Question number 1.1 says, which formula shows the way in which atoms are bonded in a molecule but does not show all the bond lines? Is it the empirical formula, molecular formula, structural formula, or condensed structural formula? We know that from grade 11, the empirical formula is the simplest ratio or shows the simplest ratio in which atoms in a molecule will bond. The molecular formula tells you the number and type of atoms in a molecule, but it gives no indication of how they are bonded. The structural formula shows us the number of each type of atom, the different types of atoms, and it shows every single one of the bond lines. But then we have the condensed structural formula, which is similar to the structural formula, but does not show all the bond lines. So the answer to question number 1.1 is D, the condensed structural formula, and this answer will get you 2 marks. Question number 1.2 says, which one of the following compounds has hydrogen bonds between its molecules? We remember at this point that a compound contains hydrogen bonds if contained in its molecules is a hydrogen atom that is bonded directly to nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine. Please remember, a hydrogen bond is a type of intermolecular force. So when we look at compound A, we see that compound A does not contain nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine in its structure. So we know compound A is not the correct answer. Compound B has been drawn over here. So I drew this. It's a structural formula because I know that a lot of you struggle to understand and analyze the condensed structural formulae. If this is the case for you, then I suggest that you always start off by drawing a structural formula for yourself to analyze. So we see that compound B contains an oxygen atom, but the question is that oxygen atom bonded directly to nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine? We see that this is a ketone, with its functional group being a carbonyl group that exists or is bonded to 2 other carbon atoms. Since this oxygen atom is not bonded to nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine, we know that compound B is not the correct answer. Compound C is an ester that I've drawn over here. And an ester also contains oxygen atoms, but those oxygen atoms are not bonded directly to hydrogen atoms. So this compound, esters, do not contain hydrogen bonds. Lastly, we have compound D, which is an alcohol. And we know that it is an alcohol because it contains a hydroxyl group. That is the functional group of alcohols. This is an oxygen that is bonded directly to a hydrogen atom. So what that means is if we have 2 or more of these molecules, then between the 2 molecules, we will have hydrogen bonds, the type of intermolecular force that they are asking us about in this question, and therefore the correct answer to question 1.2 is D. Question number 1.3 says, consider the compound below. Which one of the following is the IUPAC name of this compound? Now, before we confuse ourselves by looking at the answers, how about we go and name this compound? Firstly, we see that this is the functional group. It is the carbonyl that exists between 2 carbon atoms, and therefore this compound is a ketone. The name of a ketone ends with the word -one. Now that we've identified the functional group, we need to identify the longest continuous chain that also contains the functional group. This is not the longest continuous chain because we can go down on the right hand side, extending this chain from 4 carbons to 5 carbons. So we know that the stem name is going to be pentan. We now need to indicate the position of the functional group. Whether we number from the left hand side or the right hand side, the functional group will fall on carbon number 3. So this will be pentan 3-one. Now we need to decide which will be carbon number 1, the carbon on the left hand side or the carbon on the right hand side, or the right end of the chain. Here we have a methyl group, a branch. So we would like to ensure that the methyl group gets the lowest number possible. We only wanted to obtain the lowest number possible because the functional group was not bothered with which side we started to number from. So we're going to number from the left hand side. We have carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We see that the methyl group falls on the second carbon. We say it's a methyl group because it contains only 1 carbon atom, and therefore this compound's name is 2-methyl pentan 3-one. When we look at the options, we see that this is option A, and for 2 marks we give option A as our final answer. This brings us to the end of this video. In the next video we will continue with question number 1.